If you are not making life choices because of the fear of what other people may think of you or how they may react based on your life choice, then my friend, I think it's time for you to inspire a little bit of self love. Hey, I'm Tanya Manuel. I'm on a mission to inspire self love within myself and within others because I've realized that that is the number one thing that kept me trapped in an unhappy, unhealthy, and toxic way of living. Not only was my marriage at the time very toxic, abusive, and manipulative, but so were my closest friendships. My job that I was in for a while ended up going that way. The people around me, I surrounded myself, and of course, the most important relationship of all that was the most toxic, neglectful, and self abusive was the one with myself. I gave up my needs, my dreams, my desires to be in a situation that I actually really didn't want to be in. I made choices when I did not love myself enough in order to keep the peace, in order to feel fulfilled, in order to have a life I thought I wanted based off of expectations I had growing up, based on desires I had growing up, based on things that really, when I took a hard look at it, when I came out, when I was in my moments of darkness and despair, I realized that, yes, while some of those things were aligned with what I wanted and what I needed in my life to feel fulfilled, I chose incorrect people, people that did not value me, people that did not align with my morals, that did not align with my values, people that consistently showed me time and time again that they were not there for me. They didn't have my back, that didn't actually want the life that they claimed they wanted with me. And I'm here to share a little bit about that because even today, even though, I have been taking time to inspire self love. My self worth is higher now than it's ever been in my entire life. And, I'm like in my early 30s. I'm 33 this year. And it took a long time to get here, and I still have things I work on for my self love. So, one of the things in particular is the previous partner I chose to mate with and have a beautiful child with, and I love and adore her so much, and I'm so thankful. That is definitely the number one most important thing I received from that relationship, besides knowing and growing and learning that I did, you know, give up my life. I did give up the dream life I had for a situation that was not dream-like. I wrote this very quick poem when I left it, and I'll see if I can recite it to you. It's called A Fairy Tale Beginning. A fairy tale beginning, trapped in all the lies. It was but a dream until it was the nightmare of reality. Boom, that's it. So the very beginning of this relationship was like a fairy tale. I thought it was everything I wanted. I was very attracted to my partner. He was very attracted to me. There was a lot of things that we aligned with in the way that we both lived at that time. Reminder, I was not loving myself as how I thought I had been loving myself. I was definitely living in a time where I had lack. I had recently stopped being friends with like a best friend, so I was experiencing that loss and that grief. I met this person. Quickly, this person filled that void. We started spending every single day together, every opportunity we had together. I even actually spent time with this person when they were passed out from drinking heavily because I valued being with someone over being by myself alone. That's really hard to admit sometimes, and it's weird to say it out loud to you here online, on the internet, the people of the world. But this is really where I was. Have you ever felt that way? Have you ever felt that it was more important to be around somebody toxic, somebody that wasn't actually aligned with you out of the fear of being alone? If so, welcome to my channel because you are not alone. I'm here to promote the fact that these hard moments in life are not things that we deal with alone. It may feel like we're alone. I know for me, I purposely did not speak about these issues that I had within my relationship for a very long time. For so long that it actually became a problem, right? So I would go to my this person's house. He would already be drunk, very close to passing out. He would pass out. I would stay because I thought staying there was better than going home alone to be with myself, to be with my thoughts, to be with my healing, to be with my grief of losing this previous best friend at the time. And well, looking back, that was one of the mistakes I made and one of the errors I made in my life. However, we are not regretting life because we are allowed to learn from our mistakes and grow from our mistakes, which is what I feel like I have done. So that was only the beginning. There's a whole slew of other things. But just to give another example, there were times in this relationship specifically that I wasn't happy. I could feel my unhappiness with the way the relationship was going. You know, I felt a lot of my needs were neglected. I would make requests saying, hey, I feel like I could see this improving if we had a little less drinking. I would really like to enjoy more time with you sober. um, can we please work on that? And you know, this specific person used to always turn it back around on me and used to yell at me and belittle me and degrade me, you know, telling me that they were never enough for me. And realistically looking back, like, yeah, you're right, they were not that, they were not enough for me. It wasn't anything to do with him particularly. It was like, as a person, like, he's his own amazing person. Like, you know, I did find love there once upon a time. However, he just was not able to love me the way I needed to be loved. And now I see that and I understand that, and we still work through those struggles. But I used to stay in this relationship because of the feeling I had that I was in love with, and that was just getting like that attention, the admiration, the knowledge, the fact that I knew I was with a partner, even if that partner wasn't healthy or aligned with my goals and my dreams and my desires. Which, let's be real, at that time my goals and dreams and desires was to be a girlfriend, to be someone's girlfriend, to potentially get married one day and have a family and have kids. I wasn't really dreaming very far. I was dreaming that basic life dream that was sold to me as a little girl, right? Little girl, we wake up, you know, we grow up, we become this beautiful woman, and then we get loved and doted on, and then these men marry us, and we have a happy family, and we live happily ever after, right? Well, if that is your story, I'm so happy for you. If you are happily ever after, that was not my story. My story was I got married, the abusive alcoholic relationship furthered into the abusive alcoholicness that it was. Um, Selfishly, I can say now, selfishly, I proceeded to stay in this relationship. I would try to out myself a few times. I would say like, hey, like, this isn't really working for me. I don't know that we should stay together. And then I would hear this line. So I'm just going to give you a warning. If you hear this line in any relationship that you are a part of, hoist the flag and time to abandon ship. It is. Here we go. If you ever leave me, I will drink myself to death. Well, I sure felt guilty and blamed, and like that would have been my fault. So, of course, I stayed. I can't tell you how many times I heard that phrase from this specific person forever. I heard it from before we got married, after we got married, during separation, divorce, saying he would never find anyone, what would he do if I left him, and just guilted me and manipulated me to stay in this relationship that I knew deep down in my heart was no good. After, you know, after I kind of worked through it out, you know, I stayed. And I kept being emotionally abused. And yeah, it was really hard to leave. I had this fear, this guilt. I would pray when I left. I prayed every day for this person. Like, he went MIA we did bring a child into this world. Like, that was a selfish thing I did, right? Like, I love my daughter. She's amazing. She is a blessing, everything. I wouldn't change that necessarily, right? Because, like, you can't unwish a child. However, I selfishly neglected my needs, neglected the red flags, neglected the warnings, and moved forward, getting married and having children with someone that had proven to me before, during our courtship, during our dating phase, that they were not really interested in being a parent, in being a father, in helping support their child. You name it. It was just all there, all written all over the flags, all the red flags up in the air, and I was just like, I heard this really funny meme the other day. Somebody sent it that it's like the bulls when like they're doing those toro fights and races and stuff, right? It's like they're going for the red flag of the guy, but the toro, like the bull, goes towards that red flag. Like, it's getting waved in your face and you're just going straight at it. Well, that was me. I did that for years. I was in this relationship for 7 years. Mind you, the last year, after year 6, things got really ugly. There was some domestic violence that happened in my home. And I just didn't feel safe anymore. You know, I really felt that this person was going to become physically aggressive with me after becoming aggressive and showing dominance in the home, breaking things in the home. I was pinned against a wall. I felt very unsafe at that time, and never he had only grabbed at me one time before that during our dating phase, and I had told him flat out, if you ever grab me again and touch me where I don't feel safe, like, I will leave. And it's weird to say that I'm thankful for that evening of domestic violence that happened November of 2021, just a couple days after Thanksgiving, that it kind of like shook me, right? It shook me, and I had to wake up to the reality that the nightmare was my reality. I wasn't happy. I didn't need anything. I finally couldn't deny that I had to leave and make choices that the other person wasn't going to like. I mean, I already knew what I had to do for years before, for probably since the beginning, but because I didn't love myself enough, I didn't respect myself enough, I didn't believe I could deserved more and that I was worthy of a loving, caring, respectful husband, partner that actually admired me and built me up and let me dream with them and dreamed with me, and that was my team member. Because I didn't believe I was worthy of those things, I stayed. And finally, when it was time to break that up, it was one of the hardest things I ever had to do. I was close to 300 pounds when I left. I was like 20 pounds shy of 300 pounds when I left. I had cystic acne all over my face, kind of like I have a little bit of bad acne on this side, but it was all over my face. I was depressed. I remember one of the last years, actually, the year I was pregnant, I got left alone. It was supposed to be like a family evening. We were supposed to go see his family for Christmas, spend time with his family. We didn't get to see the family the year before because um, it was COVID. It was COVID. We hadn't been able to see our family for Christmas, so we were gonna go see the family. And my who would have been mother-in-law had passed away like a year prior, so we had missed like one of the holiday that year because there was a lot of grieving and things like that. And so I had told my partner, hey, today's the party, the Christmas party, like at 4 p.m. Like, please take it easy on the drinking because I would really like to go spend time with your family. We're pregnant. I'm so excited to share this news with your family and like spend time with your family. It's because like hopefully our daughter will get to grow up knowing your family, right? Like, just in my dream world, thinking that this is what life would be like after we had a child, that we would be involved with our families, that our families would grow up with our daughter in their lives, like our daughter would grow up with our families in our lives. Like, my family I already knew, and his family I hoped would be there, you know. It's because he never was really that close to his family. And 3:30 p.m. rolls around the corner, and he had woke up, started drinking per his usual routinely habits, and I found myself alone that night. Alone, unhappy, worried, ashamed that this was it. I was alone and pregnant and wanting to celebrate Christmas with our family. And I used to self harm as a teenager, and so that thought, the thought of like the sadness, the thought of the sadness and the frustrations was so strong for me that night that that is what popped back into my head. My brain literally told me the only way to cope through this is to self harm again, to take something and hurt myself because I had lost control. I had no control over the situation I was in. I had no control of the fact that my husband at the time was so drunk and far gone that I couldn't wake him up. After he agreed, after he promised that we were going to go to his own family event. And so I sat with myself, crying, bawling, feeling alone, feeling miserable. I mean, I just remember being in my home, which I'm still thankful to live in my mom's basement, pregnant, thinking of like all the years of like begging and asking for him to stop drinking, all the failed promises of the times I was told that things would change, that there would be improvements, that we would get to spend holidays together, spend things together. And there I was, alone. All those feelings of joy I had like put the band-aid on to sugarcoat the fact that I was always alone just kind of came seeping in. My body hurt, my heart ached. You know when that heart just aches and it's like you just want to rip it out of you because it hurts so much? Like I was there. And then to have this thought pop in my head, which this was probably what I mean, I was pregnant, my daughter's 4. So this was like 5 years ago. I sat there bawling, crying, like looking, debating, like, is it worth self harming myself right now to feel some escape, to feel some pain on my skin so that my heart doesn't hurt, so that my body doesn't hurt so much? Well, thankfully, I did outgrow that era of self harming. For me, I self harmed between the ages of probably like 16 ish until I was 19. And those were some really ugly, hard years where I didn't love myself. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't care about myself. I literally felt like I had no control over my life. When I was 16, I really didn't have much control over anything. And the only way I could cope was to feel the pain on my skin, to see the red come out of my skin. You know, trying to kind of not use specific wording because I know YouTube doesn't like that. So, the different cuts that I produced, I still have scars from. And they remind me every day that I'm a warrior and that no matter how hard life got, and even though I inflicted that painful moments on me, that pain and that trauma was very real for me at that time, and it still is real. Like, here I am crying to you, and it's been 13 years, oh, and counting, since I've even hurt myself. 13 years and a half. That's actually why I started my entire self-love pledge to begin with, was to honor myself and honor the struggle, that it's been 13 awesome years. Okay, they weren't all awesome, right? 7 years of a toxic relationship, but like, and a lot of poor choices before that toxic relationship, but like, 13 years ago, I almost wanted to die. Like, okay, I did want to die, but I didn't want to die. I don't know. It was kind of like I just wanted to not feel the pain I was in, and so, of course, feeling pain on my skin was so much more better. It wasn't. It wasn't. Don't recommend. Please do not do. This is just me sharing my story about that. And so here I was, right? December 2019. feeling all the pain, all the loneliness, all that stuff I had felt growing up, all the aloneness, all the neglect I had experienced from my relationship I had been in at the time was like all just compounding into one moment as I was pregnant by myself, watching my partner be passed out drunk, blackout drunk, would not wake up, missing out on holidays. And it really just made me think like, is this what it's always going to be like? Me alone with my child, stuck in the house, not doing our plans because my partner was passed out drunk. And I'm gonna tell you something. It was like that all of the time. All of the time. During our time that we separate, like during the few months, there had been an agreement after the domestic violence that he would go be sober and do rehab and all that. And unfortunately, I didn't really go about it the correct way either. I was still afraid to leave. I still felt like I could control that part of him, which I know I cannot. I still know I cannot. Whatever, right? But we all have to make our own choices based off of the reality and what we're actually being given. So for me, that's still kind of where I'm at. I may not be with this person anymore, but we do have to share a child together because, like I said, when I was selfish, I moved forward to having a child with this person, even though I knew that the presence was going to be minimal and the support would also be not there. Can't tell you how many fights I've gotten into about how he's giving me his money when really it's like money I've already paid for our child. So today, specifically, and this came about because it's been about almost 2 years since my divorce, and the support I've been receiving has been very behind. Um, like we're talking, I hadn't even received child support for the month of our divorce, which was November 2022, until literally like 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. Um, yeah. So almost 2 years later, I saw some child support on one thing, and thankfully after the divorce, I just said, ORS, Office of Recovery Services, please handle, this financial front of child support. So they help. In case you're there, look into it. If you're in a similar situation, your state should have the option. It may be called something else, but it's like the child support people, the people that garnish. For me here in Utah, it's called Office of Recovery Services, ORS. It's a state government um, thing, and so there should be one in your state. If you're in the States, you should look into that. I don't know about outside of the state, so sorry about that. So if you're the other parent of your child, if they are not paying you for child support, I strongly recommend just going and heading it this way. That way you do not have to ask. They garnish the wages. And if that person stops working, then ORS keeps track of those past owed amounts and they just kind of add it up. It gets added up. They keep track of that finances. And once this person starts working again, if they're using their social security number, then they will start to collect again based off of what they owe you for current and previous child support. I personally think unless you guys get along great and like this person communicates and pays up front, like sure, it's not worth doing. If you have had any issues about money at all regarding your child needing support, then 100% don't bother with them and just go straight through ORS because it'll save you so much heartache and pain. Um, because those conversations are not fun. I mean, my conversations, so they only collect child support. They don't collect on things like daycare and medical and other things without getting a judgment on past owed amounts. So my divorce decree clearly states like after 30 days, these are considered past due, and so it is found in contempt of the other party who's not paying within 30 days of the accrued date. So, long story short, that's where I'm at. I'm in that boat where I am a single mother who works full time. I do have majority custody of my child. As I mentioned, my partner at the time of our time together during our entire relationship was an extreme heavy alcoholic drinker, user, and so I had zero faith in this person. I had, like, during our divorce, I could tell you I was so unsure of life. I didn't have any confidence in myself. I didn't love myself. I really believed I had deserved to be in this abusive relationship for years. I believed that I was crazy, and how dare I ask for him to help support our child, even though, that's actually the way it works. So if you are being told that your request for financial support of your child is absurd, stop thinking that, because it's not absurd. It's actually, in reality, the proper thing that any healthy parent, any healthy person would say, that it is 100% both parents' responsibility to provide for this child that got brought into the world. Now, of course, sometimes children come into this world with unfortunate situations, unfortunate circumstances like rape or um, mostly rape, right? Or like a one night stand, like, you go, you have fun one night, you end up pregnant, like that kind of sucks, right? And now it's just you don't even know the other person. Like, those are kind of different situations, right? Because, like, that wasn't your choice. The other partner should be responsible. But if you don't have a way to contact that person, if they are unaware, if they are not present, if they choose to not have anything to do with your child, like, that's a different kind of pain and a different type of thing you have to deal with and work around, and comes with its own set of traumas. Like, I do not want to belittle anybody for that type of situation. I actually know a few people that have been through that, where they are a single parent with no support because they don't have that option to have support. However, my situation was very clear from the beginning. I stated my needs, my wants, my desires at the beginning. This person went along with my needs, wants, and desires, told me everything I wanted to hear to keep me in a relationship with them instead of allowing me to leave. Was abusive with me when I wanted to leave, and then, I mean, I gave him so many outs. I was like, hey, if you don't want kids, let's get divorced. Hey, you don't want kids, let's not get married. Hey, you don't want kids, let's not even date. Like, it went back so far. And this person always, I want to do this with you. I want to do it because of you. And, like, yeah, he did it for me. But now, as our daughter's almost 4 years old, it's very apparent that he did it for me to keep me in the relationship, right? Like, they say rings trap men, babies trap women. Like, that is where we are at. Like, we had been separated for 4 months, not living in the same home, and here I was, supporting our child by myself without any help. And what do you think happened? What do you think happened? I'm over here like, hey, can I get some child support? Like, we haven't lived together for a while. You're not paying rent. You're not paying medical insurance, and I'm paying for you. Like, could you help me out a little bit? The times are tough. It's been after COVID. Inflation rates are going up. And I just got verbally abused. How dare you ask me for money? That's a divorce term. Like, you don't get any child support. You don't need to support our child because we're separated, but we're still together. Even though we don't live together, we're not divorced. So, girls, keep your record. Men, keep your records if it's the other way around. I do primarily speak to women, but if you're here on my channel, welcome. I believe we all could inspire self love together as a community and as a group of people. So, I'm going to carry on with my story here about how sometimes you have to do what's difficult in order to love yourself. And although it may be difficult, you have to take actions that are aligned for you and your life and the best needs and interests for yourself. Just like how these people that abuse us, that manipulate us, that lie to us, do what's best for them in their world, which, you know what? Rock on. At least they do that. They take care of themselves and their own needs. Even if they're neglecting their child's needs or the needs of their partner, right? I think in a healthy relationship, you work together to find a equal solution that can benefit both partners so both needs are met. But it takes communication for that to happen. Unfortunately, I ignored the lack of communication signs on my end too. There was zero communication. It was more like I came up with um, complaints, right? And then my partner would be upset that I had concerns and desires to improve things. And then it would get turned around on me, telling me how I'm not whatever, how I was so fat, he wouldn't stop drinking, like another abusive thing. Um, and just things like that, right? So when I would bring up my needs, my wants, and desires, it got either turned around or stonewalled. Conversation would get changed. I would get no responses except for how it was my fault and how he could never make me happy, which, essentially was true. I had to learn how to make myself happy. And that also meant stop ignoring the red flags and take action with what you're seeing is the case right in front of you all the time with consistent actions, behaviors, the way of being, not the pretty dream words of the fantasy that we were creating together when we were attempting to make a family together, right? So I ask, are you not doing things out of fear of what the other person would be like? I know for me, I'm living this right now. I haven't been receiving child support as I should have been. I mean, there was like 3 or 4 months where I've received zero support at all, completely nothing for medical, nothing for food, for shelter, just child support basics, right? Clothes. And on top of that, I myself am a single full-time working mother, so I have to pay for daycare as well, and daycare is $700 a month. I know, thankful that it's not more. It sounds like a great deal, right? But like at the same time, like that's a lot of money that I'm having to front myself and come up with myself because the partner I previously chose to be with is unwilling to pay the babysitter directly. So the drama started. Like the first 2 years of my daughter's life, we were so blessed. My mother got to watch my daughter. We paid my mom basically nothing to watch my daughter. As soon as we separated, my ex-partner refused to pay my mom for her services of daycare, right, of watching our daughter while we worked for, like I said, dirt cheap. Like literally we were paying her less than $500 a month, probably around 480, 440. If we didn't work, she didn't charge us, right? Like it was a great deal. But he stopped paying my mom, and I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to allow you to continue to abuse my mom now. So we're going to have to find a professional service that will give us a paper receipt that you are requesting so that you can document and keep track of whatever finances that the money is really going towards the needs of our daughter, and not that I'm just putting money in my pocket because like I just need your money, right? Okay, yeah, I have my own money. Thank you very much. And so I switched services. The daycare lady was kind enough to let me pay her, and then I would submit the receipts to him first via our Family Wizard mobile app that we use. That is in the divorce decree that we use to communicate. Because, like I said, I have zero trust. This person always flipped the story, never told the truth, and like after 6, 7 years, you actually have to admit and accept that this is the way this person is, and I'm done trying to change this person, right? Because that was part of my problem. Like I wanted to change someone, which if you're trying to change someone, let me tell you, you are also in the wrong right there, just like how I was in the wrong for a long time. We cannot change anyone. We have to change ourselves. And so what I would do, right, is I wouldn't love myself. I would receive poor behavior. I would accept it, blame myself, guilt myself, shame myself to stay in this toxic situation and be unhappy because I was afraid of what the outcome would be if I actually took the measures necessary for me to gain freedom of peace of mind, to experience a different life, right? Which really meant leaving, getting divorced, separating, and right now, even like the fight about the money. Like, I'm so over the fight. Like, it is not my job to beg this person to pay they're part of child support. It is not my job to beg this person to pay for daycare. And let me tell you, I was wrong the first year of our divorce, like being divorced. I did every single month. I'd say, hey, it's the end of the month. I had to pay for daycare again. Can you pay me for last month's daycare? Because, like, I have to pay it again in like a couple days, and I haven't seen last month's daycare. So every month I was like being this, hey, can you pay your part of daycare? Hey, can you pay your part of daycare? Hey, could you stop asking somebody for money when they know that that's their responsibility? And so I've done that. I stopped. So proud of myself, and I've had to learn how to accept the lack of support, which I have. Like, I accept it. It is what it is. I'm venting it to you about it right now while I'm sharing my story, because, like, if you're here with me, no, you are not alone. And so, yeah, we just barely, remember how I mentioned I just received daycare or child support for November of 2022, the month of our divorce? Well, I also just received at that same time, it was like a lump sum payment, December 2023's daycare. So, like, yeah, like 8 months. It's July, right? So, like 8 months ago, just got daycare reimbursed for that. And, he also decided to pay for January daycare all at the same time. Like, you don't have money to pay me every month, but you have money to pay me $1,000 at one time. So you got money. You got money, and you're just choosing to withhold the money from your daughter's needs to spite me, to hurt me, to make me have to sacrifice my own things, right? Like, I used to get my nails done. Got them done right now. I used to get my nails done before I had a daughter every couple weeks, every, like, at least once a month. I would go get my nails done. I'd get a pedicure. And, like, that was my standard of living before I ever had a daughter. Well, after I had a daughter, I kind of cut back on some of those luxuries. Partially, my job at the time got strict at the time. I couldn't have my nails done. So, okay, I didn't have them done. You know, and then, like, then we moved on to, like, getting married, having kids, and that's what I always heard. Oh, you're gonna get your nails done. It's like, I'm sorry, when was the last time you bought a pack of diapers, right? So I ended up sacrificing the things in my life that helped me feel loved, that helped me feel like I was taking care of myself, in order to help provide for my daughter, because things were tight, right? This partner, needless to say, was in and out of jobs all the time. Would stop working when we were together, and then it would be just me maintaining the family and the home and providing for us. So I was definitely living in my masculine energy, and I was constantly competing with him, right, to be the man in the marriage, because, like, I was providing, I was taking care of things. Like, my feminine side couldn't be feminine enough, because then the masculine side would have to ask for things and, like, get, like, hey, I need help, right? And so, yeah. So anywho, this is the way it is. I have not received support on time for a very long time. I haven't received support for a very long time now, until most recently. And I'm still lacking. I mean, it's July, February, March, April, May, June, 5 months still of daycare support. It's just like, just in the ether, in the world, in the universe. It lives in this app that I use to track our expenses. And maybe one day I'll get paid out of the goodness of his heart. Maybe one day I won't. Who knows? I don't really know. I don't really count on it. At this time, I'm unable to rely on consistent support based off the inconsistency that has been proven to me since our divorce. So I'm doing the hard thing, which is why I'm here talking to you today, because it really feels like a move in the right direction, even though I know it's going to cause some pains. Well, I'm going to share that I feel like it's going to cause some pains. I can't say I know, because, like, I'm not a fortune teller, but based on previous actions, I have a feeling that it's going to go kind of ugly. But, it's 30 days past, 5 months past due on some of these things, so I'm going to go ahead and do a motion to enforce on this divorce decree that we have and try to see if I can get a judgment for this money, so that ORS, the state, can help garnish the back owed money and ask that this partner, ex partner of mine, start to responsibly pay his portion of daycare on time the month of the month that we are taking care of for daycare, right? So like I still have to pay this July. It's July right now. It's July 2nd, right? Is it July 2nd? July 3rd. I haven't paid it yet. I just got in town from vacation, and so my daughter and I are taking a day to recover to kind of get back into regular life. And so she'll go back to daycare soon, and I will be paying for a month's worth of daycare again. And I would just like for him to pay daycare like on time, right? Like that's such an absurd request. No, it is not an absurd request. It is actually a very cordial request that's written in the divorce paperwork that I shouldn't even have to request. But, unfortunately, like I said, that's not the history of this relationship. So I'm going ahead and moving forward with a motion to enforce, even though it brings me a lot of anxiety to have to do that because in the past, I previously got a protective order because I didn't feel safe, right, with the domestic violence. There was also like some sexual assault that happened after we separated. Um, after I had ended the marriage when we were still separated, and so like I proceeded legal action to say like this is a hard boundary. You are not allowed to touch me anymore. You are not allowed to speak to me abusively anymore, to try to manipulate me anymore. I was granted the protective order, and you know, all in all, the divorce went in my favor, despite the fact that I lost money. I lost 401k money, I lost pension money, I lost HSA money. I had to pay him. I had to pay his debts for failed rehab, right? It is what it is. I lost about 5 grand, and I'm still living behind times, like a couple grand, because like this fool just can't, you know, do his part. Which okay, sorry, my bad. Shouldn't call him a fool, even though whatever. I'm not here to try to bash anybody's name or anything. That's why I purposely did not mention my ex-partner's name, because it's not about him specifically. It's about the lessons I've learned about my time with that partner and what I still continue to learn moving forward, and how choosing to love me means doing things that are uncomfortable because they're aligned with my needs, my desires, my wants, my boundaries, the way I desire to be treated moving forward. And because I choose to no longer be abused, whether that's financially, emotionally, verbally, physically, that means I have to do what I have to do in order to state those boundaries clearly again and again and remind him or anybody else that I will not tolerate that type of thing in my life. So, motion to enforce it is. Speaking to lawyers, the lawyer himself is not scary, right? Like, I feel like I document my situation very clearly. I document things appropriately because, like I said, little trust, little faith. I knew we would get here. And so I have to take that uncomfortable action to do what's best for me and my child, because like I cannot continue to live thousands of dollars behind on support, um, which right now, like I just got a little bit of relief, right? Thank you if you happen to see this. Thank you for the payment. Like I told him at the time, like thank you for child support of November 2022 when it's July 2024, better late than never, right? So thank you. But that does not take away from the truth that I'm still not receiving support timely, consistently, on time as I should be. And so whenever I ask to have a conversation regarding this, I get met with a lot of abusive verbal abuse and taunting about how one day our daughter will see, how blah blah blah, and it's like right back at ya. Try not to let that vindictive abuse sink into my soul, because yeah, it's not ideal. I wish we didn't have to communicate this way. I wish that I could trust him, and I've given him plenty of ways to rebuild trust, chooses not to do that, okay, that's on him. I will maintain the healthy boundaries I have set. I will continue to ask and hold those boundaries. And they're not getting we're not getting anywhere. So I will have the courts help me get there and to remind him that this is his job, it's his responsibility as a parent. He willingly brought this child into this world with me, and it was not a one night stand, it is not a date rape situation. And I will help hold him accountable to his responsibilities when it comes to it on a legal standpoint. Um, I mean, the money's lost, and I'm thankful that I've been able to provide for my daughter, even if I don't see that money right now. But, like, I could use that. Like, everybody knows how hard it is out here right now with inflation and the prices of everything. You know, it's like you can't even go to the grocery store without spending $100. Like, it's real. And so I'm just going to have to do what's best for me and my daughter, and that means trying to recover some of those finances. So I know that I have personally myself been playing with the idea of moving forward with a motion to enforce for a month, like all year long, right? Like I said, I stopped asking for money. I stopped sending a monthly message, hey, daycare's coming up, can you please pay me for this last month? Like, I stopped. And that resulted in no support for daycare all year until this last couple weeks. It's June. We're talking halfway through the year, and I finally got a little bit of money. And it's kind of comical to me now because, like, what could I expect? I can't expect any differently. Like, I just am accepting of what it is, where we are. But, like, I literally have not moved forward because of the fear of the retaliation that I will possibly feel once this starts. Like, I have started the act, right? But he's not received notice yet. So maybe if he sees this, maybe he'll get a heads up that it's coming, right? Like, my lawyer's preparing paperwork so we can send in a motion to enforce, which, I shouldn't have to do. I shouldn't have to go seek out a lawyer so that I can ask the state to help collect money for his parental rights and responsibilities, for his parental responsibilities, um, regarding our needs for our daughter. But, like, this is still a toxic situation, so here I am. And I kept not moving that way out of the fear of what his reaction will be. And I'm pushing through the control that he still has on me by not moving forward with that route, because this is a business transaction now. Unfortunately, our daughter is a precious creation, human little being, and she has needs that need to be met. And so I now have a business transaction with her father, because I want him to be present in her life. I would like for him to be present in her life. I would appreciate him helping because that's his responsibility. And if he doesn't want to stick to the rules of engagement in the divorce decree, then I have to stick to the rules of engagement to the divorce decree to protect myself and protect my daughter. And that means getting to file a motion to enforce, because he is in contempt of our divorce decree. And it's funny, I mentioned that there's a lot of women that don't do that because of the fear, and they just sit back and allow themselves to be financially abused and manipulated by their previous partners or the fathers of their children. It's kind of crazy how many women make excuses for people, and men, I suppose. How many people make excuses for poor behavior in this world? Like, I'm here to just say, I am done living a mediocre life, and I am done pretending that things are okay when they are absolutely not okay. If you have a child, it is your job to take care of that child, period. No ifs, no ands, no whats about it. You should be providing for your child whether you choose to be in that child's life or not. Sure, you should choose to be in your child's life because We all know how they say it's better for the parent to be in the child's life, whether they're inconsistent or not, whether they are a good influence or not, because that makes that child feel like they're lacking something. And then they have to learn to deal with that and heal through that, either through adolescence, if you have a supportive family member, parent that can seek therapy for that child, or they have to deal with it as an adult, right? Um, that lack and that hole, the void of not having the other parent. And some of you may know someone that has had a missing parent, whether it was a death or they chose to not be present, whether it was a date rape situation. No matter what, divorce, that person just scrammed. Like, that hurts those children, right? Um, and that's different situation, different topic, right? Like, but like, you should be there for your child, period. You should support your child, period. And I've been baffled by the amount of people that have told me, like, oh, it's just a few $1,000s. Like, why are you going to go to court for that? So, you want me to say it's better for me to sacrifice everything I have and to push forward to allow my daughter to believe it's okay for the other parent of the child to not support that child? Like, no, 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 no. This is why we have such a brokenness in the states, in the city, in your city, in your world, in the world in general, because we're making excuses for people to not be present for their children, to not support their children. How many people have kids with one person, turn around, don't do anything with them, don't support them? That mom is struggling while they're off with their new girlfriend, buying that new house or that new car, or going on these like vacations when they're not even willing to help support their child. Like, come on, we all know somebody like that. Tell me, don't you? I know I do. My phone's starting to fall off here. It's getting windy. And I just won't stand for that anymore. I'm just not going to be okay with that anymore, you know? Like, I'm not going to accept somebody's unwillingness to take care of their child just because so many other people have it like that. Like, that is so ridiculous to me. Like, okay, it's not like my ex-husband's in jail. It's not like he's dead. You know, there's a big difference when your partner or your person is unable to because literally they can't, like they've died. Like, that's totally different than when they just choose to not be present and around there for your child. Anybody else understand that? Anybody else see where I'm going with that? This is now not wanting to stay put here. I'm at this park trying to make this video for y'all after my mentally stressful morning of going to the lawyer's office. Cause yeah, it's not fun, guys. I don't recommend doing it if you don't have to, but if you are constantly being abused, then I think it becomes a necessity to hold some healthy boundaries for yourself, which is what I'm doing. This is my example. Very real, very raw, very ugly, but it's true. And I want to ask you, if you've made it this far, what are you sacrificing in your life? What things are you not doing for you because of the fear of someone else's attitude towards you? What are you not doing, not saying, not changing because of somebody else's attitude towards you? What are you giving up on? Why are you neglecting yourself and your needs for someone that doesn't actually care about you? Because if they don't care about your needs, they don't care about your children, and they don't care about helping make life easier for you, they're toxic. They're toxic, and you're allowing them to stay in your life. It's time to inspire self-love, and remember, you're worth it. You deserve more. You deserve better. You were not created to suffer and only suffer in whatever situation you are in. I strongly used to believe that I was meant to suffer in the situation I was in. But I don't anymore. I don't believe I'm supposed to suffer through somebody choosing to not do their part anymore. Are you choosing to suffer because someone's choosing not to do their part too? If so, I have some open spots in my calendar. I'd love to start coaching you to help you inspire self love, break out of those chains of negative cycles, and to start living your most authentic, passionate, and joyful life. Yeah, there's gonna be hard times. Yeah, it's gonna be difficult. But isn't life already hard if you're giving up all your dreams, wants, and desires? If you're truly not happy, aren't you already suffering? Are you more comfortable in your own suffering that you're currently used to? As Lisa Billy said, in the purgatory of mundane, right now in this life, instead of, taking some uncomfortable action to make the changes in your life that you actually want and desire. You're worth it. You deserve more. You're amazing. You're loved. And I hope that this was helpful for you today. If it was, give me a like. Follow me. You can find me across all social media. And I'm going to put a link in the description box to my calendar if you want to set up your free empowerment call today and see if we can't help you start thinking in a more empowered, self love kind of way. Because you got to work it. You're worth it. And sometimes we need to get a lot of help for that. There's free resources out there, and there's sometimes resources like myself. Like, I have free content, but I also want to coach you. I want to coach people. I want to help empower women to know that they're not alone in this suffering and that you don't have to suffer alone. I'm building a community, a tribe of women warriors that have gone through their own heartaches, their own turmoils, their own difficulties, so that we can push forward and help create better lives for ourselves and the next generation that is coming to this world. I want my daughter to know how much I love her and how, even though I've struggled as a single mom, that struggling as a single mom was so much more important than to stay in a marriage where there was not real love, where there was not support, where there was no teamwork, where there was no communication, where there was no real life to live. Who knows? Maybe things would have changed. My ex-partner, almost died after our divorce. And to be honest, he couldn't even keep that threat. He threatened to kill himself drinking so many times. The time came, and he couldn't keep that word either. Not that I wanted him to die, right? Like, of course I don't want that, but like, he couldn't even do that either. Like, everything he always told me was a bunch of lies and abusive, manipulative tactics to keep me from leaving. And yes, he's had a girlfriend since the month of our divorce, basically. So it is okay because he can choose to be that way. He can choose to not have dealt with life, choose to not do whatever he needs to do to heal, to regain my trust, to allow himself to be unsupervised with our child. Like, that's all on him. I set my healthy boundaries during the divorce out of my state that I had been in during that time. Survival. I was surviving. I was trying to not be a victim during our divorce. And I am not. I refuse to be a victim. I mean, he can say he's the victim all he wants, but we know the truth here. Um, and I will die speaking my truth moving forward because I silenced myself for far too long when I chose to not love myself, not love who I was. And that time is over now. Now it's time to live in my truth, live in my authenticity, live to be the woman I was created to be, that I am still becoming. Like, this is just the beginning of my journey, y'all. So if you know anyone that needs to work on their self love, if you need to work on your self love, please reach out. Leave me a comment, leave me a like. Let me know what you want to hear about because this is life. This is the world, and this is my mission, my purpose. I am bringing to you after almost ending it all, after believing I wasn't worth it. I'm here to tell you I'm worth it, and so are you. So it's time to inspire self love. Till next time.